Commander Jake Morrison stood in the control room watching the big screen that showed space around Earth. The alien ships looked like nothing humans had ever built before, with smooth curved surfaces that seemed to shine with their own light. Lisa Harper sat at her desk with headphones on and her fingers moving fast across the buttons and screens that would help them talk to whoever was inside those ships. The lead ship sent a message saying they were from something called the Galactic Council and they wanted to talk. Captain Ryan Torres had spent years learning how to talk to aliens if this day ever came, and now it was really happening. He walked over to the main communication panel and took a deep breath before speaking into the microphone. The alien said they were called the Kefamori and their leader was named Velter. When Velter spoke through the translation system, his voice sounded strange, like he was talking through water, but the words came out in English. He said they were surprised to find people living on Earth because their records showed it should be empty of any life. Jake Morrison felt confused by this statement. Earth was full of life everywhere you looked, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains. Dr. Amy Phillips, who studied alien biology, hurried over to her computer to start recording everything the alien said. She had waited her whole life for this moment and wanted to make sure nothing was missed. Velter explained that their ships had special equipment that could measure how dangerous a planet was for life to exist. He said Earth measured as class 13 on their scale, which was the highest rating they had ever seen. Most planets where life could grow were class 3 or class 4, he explained, and even class 7 planets were considered very dangerous. Lisa Harper looked up from her translation computer with a worried expression on her face. The alien words for class 13 kept coming through as things like Death World and Impossible Survival Zone. She told Commander Morrison what she was hearing, and he frowned as he tried to understand what this meant. Captain, Torres asked Velter to explain what made Earth so dangerous according to their measurements. The alien leader seemed happy to share this information as if he was talking about a very interesting scientific discovery. He said Earth had gravity that was much stronger than most planets where intelligent life lived. The air had too much oxygen, which could be poisonous to many species. The temperature changes were extreme, going from freezing cold to burning hot. The weather systems created storms with enough power to destroy cities. Dr. Phillips started laughing when she heard this translation. She told the others that what the aliens were describing sounded like a normal Tuesday on Earth. Commander Morrison asked her to explain what she meant. She said that humans had evolved to live with all these things that the aliens thought were deadly. Strong gravity made humans strong. High oxygen levels gave humans lots of energy. Temperature changes just meant they wore different clothes. Storms were something they watched on the weather report and planned around. Velter asked if he could bring a small research team to Earth to study how life could exist in such terrible conditions. He promised they would only stay in a small area and would not interfere with human activities. Commander Morrison thought about this request for a few minutes while the other humans waited quietly. The decision to allow the aliens to visit seemed like an easy one to make. Humans had always been curious about life beyond Earth, and now they had a chance to learn from creatures who traveled between the stars. Morrison told Velter that a research team would be welcome, but they would need to follow human safety rules and work with human scientists. Dr. Phillips volunteered to be the main contact person for the alien research team. She had studied biology her whole life and was excited to learn about how life developed on other worlds. Captain Torres said he would handle all the official communications between the human government and the Galactic Council. Over the next few hours, more messages went back and forth between the human command center and the alien ships. Velter explained that his people lived on a world that was class 4, which meant it had gentle weather-stable temperatures and low gravity. He said most council species came from similar worlds and that finding intelligent life on a class 13 world was completely unexpected. Lisa Harper continued working on improving the translation system so both sides could communicate more clearly. She discovered that the aliens had words for many different types of dangerous worlds, but no words for creatures that actually lived on those worlds successfully. Their language simply did not have concepts for the kind of survival that humans took for granted every day As the first day of contact ended, Commander Morrison looked out at the alien ship still floating peacefully in space near Earth. He wondered what these visitors would think when they actually came down to the surface and saw how humans lived. Something told him that the aliens were about to get a much bigger surprise than they expected. Dr. Carl Bennett walked across the flat grassland in Montana where the aliens had set up their research station. The building looked like a giant silver bubble sitting on the prairie with strange equipment sticking out from all sides. He carried a box of soil samples that he had collected from different parts of Earth for the alien scientist named Zixel to study. Zixel was about as tall as a human, but had 4 arms and skin that changed colors when he was thinking hard. For the past 2 weeks, he and Dr. Bennett had been working together comparing Earth samples with data from other worlds in the galaxy. At first, Zixel had seemed excited about the work, but lately he had been changing colors more often and making worried clicking sounds. Lieutenant Colonel Susan Blake received an urgent message on her communication device while she was having lunch in the base cafeteria. The message came from the main Galactic Council Research Center and was marked as emergency priority. She read the first few lines and immediately called for an emergency meeting with all the human team leaders. The meeting room filled up quickly with scientists, military officers, and government officials. Susan Blake stood at the front of the room with a serious expression on her face. She told everyone that the Galactic Council had finished their first detailed analysis of Earth and the results were causing panic across multiple alien civilizations. A new alien had arrived to deliver the report in person. His name was Thelanis, and he was a senior researcher from the Council Science Department. Unlike Zixel, who seemed friendly and curious, Thelanis appeared nervous and kept looking around the room as if he expected something dangerous to happen at any moment. Thelanis explained that the Council had tested thousands of planets over many centuries and had developed a very detailed system for measuring how dangerous each world was for life. Most planets where intelligent species evolved were rated Class 3 to Class 5, which meant they had mild weather-stable conditions and few natural threats. Class 7 worlds were considered dangerous, and Class 10 worlds were labeled as extinction planets where no life should be able to survive. Dr. Phillips asked what rating Earth had received, expecting to hear Class 11 or maybe Class 12. Thelanis made a sound that the translation system could not convert into human language, and then said that Earth did not just meet Class 13 standards but exceeded every measurement they had for planetary danger. He said the Council scientists had run the tests 3 times because they could not believe the results. Agent Kevin Murphy, who had been studying alien psychology, asked what specific things made Earth so dangerous. Thelanis pulled out a device that projected images in the air showing data charts and graphs. He pointed to different measurements while explaining what they meant. The gravity on Earth was 3 times stronger than what most alien species could survive without special equipment. The oxygen levels in the air were high enough to be toxic to many Council species. The planet had weather systems that generated more energy than some species used to power their entire civilizations. There were predator animals that hunted other animals just for fun rather than food. There were plants that produced chemicals deadly to most galactic life forms. Dr. Helen Carter, who had been studying the Council database of alien biology, made a discovery that shocked everyone in the room. She stood up and announced that, according to the alien records, humans appeared to be the only intelligent species that had evolved on any world rated higher than Class 8. Every other smart species in the galaxy came from worlds that humans would consider paradise planets with perfect weather, no dangerous animals, and gentle conditions. Kevin Murphy realized what this meant and shared his thoughts with the group. He said that to alien species, humans must look like creatures that had survived and thrived in conditions that should have killed them millions of years ago. From their perspective, humans were like living proof that intelligence could develop even in the most impossible circumstances. Thelanis confirmed this understanding and added more disturbing information. He said that several Council species were requesting immediate evacuation of all their people from Earth. Some governments were demanding that Earth be marked as a quarantine zone to protect the rest of the galaxy from what they considered a Dangerous world. The humans in the room looked at each other with confusion and growing concern. Susan Blake asked if the aliens were afraid of Earth itself or afraid of humans. Thelanis admitted that many council species were afraid of both. He explained that any creatures tough enough to survive on a Class 13A world must be incredibly dangerous even if they seem friendly. Dr. Bennett asked about his work with Zixel, and whether the alien scientist was afraid of him. Thelanis said that Zixel had been sending daily reports about his amazement at human casual attitude toward deadly conditions. Simple things like humans drinking coffee which contained caffeine that was poisonous to most aliens, or humans enjoying spicy food that would burn alien tongues, were being recorded. As evidence of human adaptation to extreme survival, the meeting continued for several hours as the humans tried to understand how their normal, everyday life looked to creatures from safer worlds. Agent Murphy pointed out that humans had never thought of Earth as particularly dangerous because they had never known anything else. To them, strong gravity was just gravity, hot weather was summer, and storms were something you watched on the news, Dr. Carter shared. More data from the alien database showing that most council species had never developed things like extreme sports, military training, or even competitive games that involved physical contact. The concept of deliberately putting yourself in danger for fun or exercise was completely foreign to them. As the meeting ended, everyone realized that first contact had revealed something unexpected about humanity's place in the galaxy. Instead of being a young species that needed to learn from older civilizations, humans turned out to be the ultimate survivors who had achieved intelligence under conditions that most other species could not even imagine. On the peaceful world of Velthera, where the cities floated gently above crystal lakes, Ambassador Quintal received the Earth classification report during his morning meditation. The beautiful harmony of his world was disrupted by emergency alarms. As the Harmony Council called an immediate meeting to discuss what they were calling the Death World discovery, Quintal had lived for over 200 years and had never seen his people react with such fear to any news. The Harmony Council chambers filled with representatives from 12 different peaceful species, all talking at once about the implications of intelligent life evolving on a Class 13 world. Their military advisors, who had never needed to plan for actual conflict, were now suggesting they needed immediate defensive preparations. The Veltheron people had evolved on a world with no predators, no storms, and no temperature variations. Their greatest environmental challenge was deciding which floating city to visit during their daily travels. The idea that creatures existed who considered mountain climbing and deep sea diving to be recreational activities was beyond their understanding. Meanwhile, on the war world of Drakthal Empire, the reaction was completely different but equally intense. War Chief Korax sat in his command throne reviewing the human data with his tactical advisors. The Drakthal had built their entire civilization around the concept of strength through combat, but even they had evolved on a relatively safe Class 6 world with predictable seasons and manageable threats. Korax initially dismissed the Earth reports as exaggerated until his own survey team confirmed every measurement. The revelation that humans participated in something called extreme sports, where they deliberately put themselves in life-threatening situations for entertainment, caused him to completely reevaluate his understanding of courage and strength. The Drakthal military database contained information about every known warrior species in the galaxy, but none of them came from worlds higher than Class 8. The idea that an entire species had evolved while facing Class 13 challenges meant that humans might be natural warriors beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Back on Earth, Marine Colonel Pete Jackson was dealing with a different kind of problem. Reports were coming in from around the world about human civilians accidentally terrifying alien researchers who had spread out to study different environments. Construction worker Bill Hendricks had caused a panic at a building site in Denver when he casually lifted a steel beam that the alien observers calculated should require mechanical assistance for any living creature to move. In Chicago, nurse Betty Franklin was working with alien medical researchers who wanted to understand human biology. She had demonstrated basic first aid techniques, including CPR and wound cleaning, only to discover that the aliens considered these procedures to be advanced emergency medicine that most of their species had never developed. The fact that humans routinely performed such medical interventions without special training had convinced the aliens that every human must be some kind of medical specialist. Dr. Alex Turner, who was running the cultural exchange program in New York, found himself documenting increasingly strange misunderstandings. A simple human barbecue had been interpreted by alien observers as a demonstration of fire mastery and chemical cooking techniques. The fact that humans deliberately consumed charred meat and fermented beverages was being recorded as evidence of human adaptation to survival nutrition. Children playing in Central Park had caused another incident when alien researchers observed them climbing playground equipment and running around in games of tag. The Kathamori team leader Velter had filed a report describing what he called primitive combat training disguised as recreational activity. The sight of human children fearlessly jumping from elevated platforms and engaging in mock pursuit games had convinced him that human military preparation began at an extremely young age. The most disturbing incident occurred when alien observers attended a professional football game in Dallas. The combination of deliberate physical contact, competitive aggression, and thousands of humans cheering for controlled violence was interpreted as a massive display of territorial warfare preparation. Several alien species formally requested diplomatic immunity, believing they had witnessed evidence of human military coordination on a scale that suggested preparation for galactic conquest. Restaurant owner Maria Santos in Los Angeles became an unexpected cultural ambassador when visiting aliens discovered human cuisine. Her restaurant had been chosen to demonstrate typical human food to alien diplomats, but the experience went badly wrong when she served what she considered mild salsa with the meal. 3 alien visitors required immediate medical attention after consuming the spicy sauce, and 2 others had to be evacuated when they detected the capsaicin content in the air. The alien medical team treating the salsa victims filed reports describing human consumption of capsaicin as evidence of evolutionary adaptation to chemical warfare. They could not understand why any species would deliberately consume substances that cause pain and physical reactions unless they had evolved as a defense against toxin-based attacks. News of the Earth classification spread through galactic communication networks faster than official diplomatic channels could manage the information. Civilian populations on dozens of worlds began demanding explanations from their governments about why contact had been made with creatures from a death world without proper safety protocols. The Xanthari Collective, known for their logical approach to all problems, ran computer simulations trying to understand how intelligence could develop under Class 13 conditions. Their results suggested that any species surviving such an environment would necessarily develop problem-solving abilities and physical capabilities far beyond normal galactic standards. Religious groups across multiple species began interpreting the human discovery as either a sign of divine intervention or evidence of dangerous forces in the universe. Some claimed that Deathworld survivors must be blessed by cosmic powers, while others insisted they represented a threat to the natural order of peaceful galactic civilization. Emergency sessions were called in the Galactic Council chambers as representatives from over 50 species demanded immediate policy decisions about how to handle the human situation. Some species wanted Earth quarantined indefinitely, while others argued for immediate military assessment of human capabilities. The debate raged for days as each species shared their fears and theories about what Deathworld evolution meant for galactic stability. No one could agree on whether humans represented an opportunity to learn about survival, or a threat that needed to be contained before it could spread beyond Earth. General Patricia Adams stepped off the transport shuttle onto Nexus Station, expecting routine diplomatic meetings, but instead found herself facing what looked like a military tribunal. The Galactic Council War College had requested her presence to discuss human defensive capabilities, but the massive chamber filled with alien military leaders suggested this was much more serious than a simple briefing. High Commander Zaris stood at the center of the room, using all 4 of his arms to gesture at holographic displays showing human military history. His species, the Corvani, had been the galaxy-dominant military power for over 1,000 years, but even they had never encountered anything like what they were seeing in the human records. Colonel Danny Roberts, who had accompanied General Adams as a military historian, watched alien officers struggle to understand the data on their screens. The presentation began with what humans considered ancient warfare, showing battles fought with swords, shields, and basic firearms. Several alien species in the room had never progressed beyond similar technology levels even after millions of years of evolution. High Commander Zaris explained that most Council species had developed military technology very slowly because their homeworlds presented few threats that required advanced weapons. Wars between different species were rare and usually involved territorial disputes that could be solved through negotiation or simple shows of force. The alien officers became increasingly agitated as the presentation moved through human military development. The speed at which humans had progressed from primitive weapons to nuclear capability was unprecedented in galactic history. Most species took hundreds of thousands of years to develop technology that humans had achieved in just a few centuries. Dr. Nancy Price, who had been invited to present data on human physical capabilities, began her portion of the briefing with basic information about human soldiers. She explained that the average human military personnel could operate effectively in environments that would require full environmental suits for most alien species. The revelation that humans could function in extreme temperatures, survive without food or water for extended periods, and maintain combat effectiveness under high-stress conditions caused murmurs of concern throughout the chamber. When Dr. Price mentioned that humans had developed endurance hunting techniques that allowed them to pursue prey over long distances until exhaustion, several alien species demanded clarification. Commander George Campbell demonstrated standard human military equipment that had been brought for the presentation. Items like body armor, night vision equipment, and field rations were examined by alien technical specialists who seemed amazed by what humans considered basic gear. The body armor was rated to stop projectiles that would be considered heavy weapons by several alien military forces. The night vision technology was more advanced than anything 3 different species had in their arsenals. The field rations contained nutritional content that would sustain alien soldiers for twice as long as their own military food supplies. When Commander Campbell casually mentioned that this equipment was standard issue for regular soldiers, not special forces, the alien reaction was immediate and intense. High Commander Zaris demanded to know what equipment human elite forces carried if this was considered basic gear. The demonstration continued with human weapon systems, starting with simple firearms and progressing to more advanced technology. The aliens were particularly disturbed by human development of non-lethal weapons designed to subdue opponents without killing them. The concept that humans had created weapons specifically to avoid causing death was confusing to species whose military thinking was based on survival or elimination. General Adams found herself answering increasingly detailed questions about human military philosophy and training methods. She explained that human soldiers were trained to operate independently, to adapt to changing conditions, and to protect civilian populations even at personal risk. These concepts were apparently revolutionary to military leaders who came from worlds where conflict was simple and survival was rarely threatened. The breaking point came when the aliens learned about human rules of warfare. The Geneva Convention's laws of armed conflict and military codes of conduct were presented as evidence of human, self-imposed limitations on their own military capabilities. The idea that a species from a death world would voluntarily restrict their fighting methods was incomprehensible to most of the alien officers. Colonel Roberts shared historical examples of human military restraint, including instances where human forces had risked their own missions to protect enemy civilians or provide medical aid to wounded opponents. Several alien species requested verification of this data because it contradicted their understanding of survival-based evolution. The session took a darker turn when High Commander Zaris asked about human weapons of mass destruction. Dr. Price reluctantly explained that humans had developed nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons capable of destroying entire civilizations. but had chosen to limit their use through international treaties and agreements. The alien reaction to this information was immediate panic. The concept that Deathworld survivors had developed planet-killing weapons and then decided not to use them was beyond the understanding of military leaders who saw warfare as a simple matter of using maximum force to ensure survival. General Adams tried to explain that human military development had been driven by the need to protect populations and resources rather than simply destroy enemies. She described how human military doctrine emphasized winning conflicts while preserving the ability to rebuild and maintain peaceful relationships afterward. This explanation only made the situation worse as alien officers realized that humans had not only developed incredible military capabilities, but had also created complex strategies for managing post-conflict situations. The level of tactical and strategic thinking required for such planning suggested mental capabilities that most species had never needed to develop. The session concluded with High Commander Zaris formally recommending that humans be classified as a protected but monitored species. The protection was necessary because humans appeared to be unique in the galaxy, but monitoring was essential because their theoretical military capabilities exceeded anything the Council had encountered. As General Adams prepared to return to Earth, she realized that the galaxy saw humanity not as potential allies or friends, but as a barely contained force that could either help defend galactic civilization or destroy it, completely depending on human choices in the years ahead. Dr. LeVar Mitchell stood in the new Geneva Cultural Exchange Center, watching alien visitors arrive for what was supposed to be the first successful large-scale cultural program between humanity and the Galactic Council. The building had been specially designed with adjustable environmental controls to accommodate different alien species, but nothing could have prepared her for the series of disasters that were about to unfold. Artist and cultural ambassador Tony Rodriguez had planned what he considered a mild outdoor adventure program for the visiting alien dignitaries. The schedule included hiking, camping, and a barbecue picnic designed to show aliens how humans enjoyed nature and outdoor activities. He had chosen the gentlest possible activities, thinking that visitors from advanced civilizations would appreciate seeing human recreational culture. The first group of aliens arrived wearing full environmental suits, despite being told that Earth atmosphere was safe for them with basic breathing apparatus. When Tony explained that they would be walking on natural terrain for several hours, the aliens requested immediate consultation with their medical teams. The concept of deliberately traveling across uneven ground for pleasure rather than necessity was causing serious concern among the visitors. The hiking portion of the program ended in disaster when the alien participants encountered a small stream that needed to be crossed using stepping stones. What humans considered a simple obstacle requiring basic balance skills was interpreted by the aliens as a dangerous water hazard that could result in drowning or injury. 3 alien species refused to continue and requested emergency evacuation back to their ships. Children Education Coordinator Jennifer Lewis faced her own crisis when alien observers visited a local elementary school to learn about human development and learning. The playground equipment that human children used every day was being documented by alien researchers as advanced physical conditioning apparatus, designed to prepare young humans for survival in hostile environments. The aliens watched in amazement as 6-year-old children climbed jungle gyms, swung from monkey bars, and ran around playing tag. The combination of height-related activities, physical competition, and mock pursuit games was being recorded as evidence that human society began military-style training at an extremely early age. When the children played a game of dodgeball during physical education class, the alien observers called for immediate diplomatic intervention. The sight of human children deliberately throwing balls at each other while following complex rules and strategies was interpreted as ritualized combat training disguised as educational activity. Dr. Frank Lopez, who was working with alien medical researchers, made a discovery that explained many of the cultural misunderstandings. He learned that most alien species had never needed to develop advanced medical techniques because their homeworlds rarely presented serious threats to health or survival. Standard human medical procedures like surgery, chemotherapy, and even basic Pain management represented techniques that most aliens had never developed. The fact that humans routinely underwent medical procedures that aliens considered impossibly dangerous was being interpreted as evidence of human indifference to personal safety. Restaurant owner Maria Santos became an accidental cultural crisis when she prepared what she considered a mild welcome dinner for alien visitors. Her menu included foods that humans ate every day, but each dish created new problems for the alien guests. The bread contained yeast which several alien species could not digest safely. The salad included vegetables that were mildly toxic to 3 different alien visitors. The fruit juice had natural acids that burned alien tongues. Even the water had mineral content that required special filtration for several species to consume safely. When Maria served coffee as an after-dinner beverage, the alien medical teams immediately declared a health emergency. The caffeine content that humans considered normal was being measured as a potentially lethal dose for most of the alien visitors. The fact that humans regularly consume such substances for pleasure rather than medical necessity was recorded. As more evidence of human adaptation to chemical survival, the cultural exchange reached its lowest point when visiting alien students were invited to observe a high school football game. The combination of deliberate physical contact, competitive aggression, and thousands of human spectators cheering for controlled violence created panic among the alien observers. Several alien species interpreted the football game as a display of territorial warfare preparation involving the entire local human population. The complex rule strategy and teamwork demonstrated by the players was seen as evidence of sophisticated military coordination rather than recreational sport. The halftime show featuring marching band formations and synchronized movements was documented as a demonstration of human ability to coordinate large groups for tactical purposes. The fact that teenagers could perform such complex coordinated activities while wearing uniforms was interpreted as evidence of widespread military training programs. Dr. Mitchell found herself trying to explain to increasingly worried alien officials that everything they were observing was normal human recreational and educational activity. Her explanations only made the situation worse as aliens realized that humans considered potentially dangerous activities to be relaxing, fun, or educational. The alien visitors began requesting modifications to all planned cultural activities. Hiking was replaced with indoor presentations. Outdoor cooking was moved to sterile laboratory environments. Children activities were limited to supervised sitting and quiet conversation. Sports demonstrations were canceled entirely after the football incident. Tony Rodriguez attempted to save the program by organizing what he thought would be the safest possible human cultural activity, a poetry reading and art exhibition. Even this gentle approach created problems when aliens learned that much human art and literature dealt with themes of conflict, survival, and overcoming challenges. The poetry included references to natural phenomena like storms, oceans, and mountains that aliens considered deadly environmental hazards. The artwork depicted human figures engaged in activities that most alien species would consider impossible survival scenarios. Even peaceful landscape paintings were troubling to visitors who saw dangerous terrain where humans saw natural beauty. By the end of the cultural exchange program, Dr. Mitchell realized that the fundamental problem was not communication or preparation, but the vast difference between human and alien perspectives on basic concepts like safety, risk, and normal activity. What humans considered everyday life was being interpreted as evidence of a species adapted to constant survival challenges. The final reports from alien participants recommended that future cultural exchanges be limited to carefully controlled environments with extensive safety protocols and medical supervision. Several species suggested that direct cultural contact with humans might be too dangerous for most galactic civilizations to attempt safely. President Jonathan Hayes stood before the largest gathering of alien representatives ever assembled on Earth as he opened the Global Integration Summit in New York. The past year had brought changes that no one could have predicted when the first alien ships arrived in Earth orbit. The fear and misunderstanding that had initially dominated alien reactions to humanity had slowly transformed into something entirely different. Ambassador Rachel Stone presented the annual report on human-alien relations to the mixed audience of Earth officials and galactic representatives. She explained how the establishment of the Terran Advisory Board had created the first galactic council body specifically designed to help alien species understand and safely interact with what they now called high adaptation civilizations. The Advisory Board had been created after dozens of alien species requested help dealing with environmental challenges that they had never encountered before. Planets that had been considered uninhabitable were now being evaluated for potential colonization using human expertise in extreme environment survival. Dr. Charles King, who had become the director of the Galactic Medical Exchange program, shared remarkable statistics about how human medical knowledge was revolutionizing healthcare across alien civilizations. Techniques that humans had developed to deal with trauma toxins and extreme physical stress were being adapted for use in alien medical systems throughout the galaxy. The breakthrough had come when alien doctors realized that human medicine was not based on violence or aggression, but on an absolute determination to preserve life under impossible conditions. Human emergency medical procedures that had initially terrified alien observers were now being taught in medical schools on dozens of worlds. Lieutenant General Stephen Clark, commander of the new Joint Species Military Academy, explained how human tactical thinking had influenced Galactic Council defensive strategies. The human approach to asymmetric warfare, environmental exploitation, and adaptive tactics was providing the Council with new options for defending against threats from unknown regions of space. The Academy had been established after Council military leaders realized that human military philosophy was based on protection rather than destruction. The combination of overwhelming capability with strict ethical limitations had proven to be exactly what the galaxy needed for dealing with complex security challenges. The turning point in human-alien relations had come 6 months earlier when a Council exploration fleet encountered a hostile alien empire from outside known space. The attackers used environmental warfare tactics that devastated 3 alien worlds before Council forces could respond effectively. Human military advisors had immediately provided tactical solutions that allowed Council forces to neutralize the threat while minimizing casualties on both sides. The successful defense had demonstrated that human survival skills could protect galactic civilization rather than threaten it. Dr. Sandra Wright, now serving as the Council Chief Adaptive Biology researcher, presented her latest findings to the summit audience. Her research had revealed that Earth classification as Class 13 was not an anomaly but potentially the key to understanding how life could spread throughout the galaxy. She explained that preliminary surveys had identified 17 other Class 10 or higher worlds showing signs of possible intelligent life. The discovery suggested that Death World evolution might be more common than anyone had realized, and that humanity might not be alone in developing intelligence under extreme conditions. The implications were staggering for galactic understanding of life and evolution. Instead of being a unique curiosity, humans might represent the first contact with an entire category of species that had been overlooked because their worlds seemed too dangerous to support life. Captain Andrew Foster had been chosen to lead the first joint human-alien expedition to investigate these other extreme worlds. His team included specialists from 12 different alien species, all working together to explore planets that would have been considered impossible to visit just 1 year earlier. The expedition planning had required completely new approaches to space exploration. Human techniques for survival in hostile environments were being combined with alien technology for space travel and communication. The result was capability that neither humans nor aliens could have achieved independently. President Hayes announced the signing of the Terran Accords, which formally established Earth as the Council official Extreme Environment Training Center. The agreement also recognized humanity as the galaxy leading specialists in impossible world colonization and development. The economic implications of the Accords were enormous for both Earth and the galaxy. Human expertise in environmental adaptation was opening up thousands of worlds that had been considered worthless for development. Alien technology was accelerating human space exploration capabilities by centuries. Dr. Mitchell, who had survived the cultural exchange disasters of the previous year, presented the new protocols for human-alien interaction. The guidelines recognized that cultural differences based on environmental adaptation required special approaches, but also emphasized the benefits of learning from those differences. The success stories were remarkable. Alien children were learning human games adapted for their physical capabilities and finding joy in challenges they had never experienced. Human artists were creating works inspired by alien perspectives on beauty and harmony. Scientists from both sides were making discoveries that neither could have achieved alone. Restaurant owner Maria Santos had become an unlikely celebrity by developing fusion cuisine that combined human flavors with alien nutritional requirements. Her restaurants on 12 different worlds were introducing aliens to the concept of enjoying food rather than simply consuming nutrition. The summit concluded with a ceremony recognizing the individuals who had made the transformation possible. From Commander Morrison, who had made the first contact decisions, to Bill Hendricks, whose construction work had accidentally demonstrated human capabilities, every person who had participated in bridging the gap between human and alien understanding was honored. As the ceremony ended, Captain Foster prepared to depart for the first Death World exploration mission. His ship carried not just human and alien crew members, but also the hopes of an entire galaxy that was just beginning to understand how much bigger and more diverse the universe might be than anyone had ever imagined. The journey from first contact to integration had taken only 1 year, but it had changed everything for both humanity and galactic civilization. Earth status as a Class 13, Death World had initially shocked the galaxy, but ultimately revealed that survival and intelligence could flourish in ways that no one had thought possible.